The auditorium rotated slowly, artificial gravity humming beneath polished alloy floors. Hundreds of cadets filled the tiered seating, bodies of every conceivable shape locked into harnesses calibrated for comfort rather than strain. Holographic banners hovered above the central dais, scrolling the insignia of the unified Galactic Military Academy. Order. Balance. Survival. Commander Vethrix Tal stood at the center, hands folded behind his back, mandibles still. His voice carried without amplification, clipped and precise. Survivability is not a matter of courage, he said. It is mathematics. Biology. Environment. Some worlds produce soldiers. Others produce liabilities. A ripple of agreement moved through the hall. Tal gestured, and a star map unfolded, zooming inward until a small blue sphere appeared, ringed in warning glyphs. Earth, he continued. Class-12 Deathworld. Gravity beyond optimal thresholds. Seismic instability. Hyper-aggressive microbial ecosystems. Apex predators at every trophic level. His eyes swept the room. No cadet raised under such conditions has ever completed standardized academy training. The statement landed like a verdict. Several species shifted uneasily. A few glanced toward the human section, sparse and quiet. Mara Keene sat upright, boots planted flat, spine straight despite the constant pull of station gravity. She felt the familiar pressure settle into her bones, the same way it always did. Like home. She raised her hand. The motion was small, unassuming, but it fractured the rhythm of the room. Tal's gaze snapped to her, irritation flickering across his features. Yes, cadet? He said. Mara stood. She did not rush her words. Sir, she said evenly, if no Earth cadet can survive academy training, then how am I standing here? Silence expanded, thick and uncomfortable. Sensors along the walls ticked softly as they recalibrated for the pause. Tal studied her, eyes narrowing, not with curiosity but calculation. Name, he said. Mara Keene. Earth. Intake 7. A low murmur spread. Earthborn. Present. Uncollapsed. Tal inclined his head slightly. Anomaly, he replied. Not evidence. Mara nodded once and sat down. The lecture resumed, but the room had shifted. Eyes followed her now, some cautious, some intrigued, others openly dismissive. She ignored them all, focusing instead on the cadence of Tal's voice and the data he projected. Survival curves. Failure percentages. Biological tolerances that flattened at the mention of human metrics. When the session ended, cadets rose in disciplined waves. Mara unclipped her harness and turned toward the exit, only to find Tal blocking the aisle. Cadet Keene, he said quietly. Yes, sir. You understand, Tal said, that your presence here is provisional. She met his gaze. All cadets' presence is provisional, sir. A pause. Tal's mandibles tightened. You will be evaluated strictly. I expect nothing else. He stepped aside. The training complex lay beneath the auditorium, a labyrinth of chambers designed to simulate 100 hostile environments. Mara changed into regulation gear and followed her assigned group into the first assessment bay. Gravity dampeners disengaged with a muted thud. The floor pulled harder. Several cadets stumbled. One collapsed to a knee, breathing fast. Mara felt the increase register through her calves, hips, spine. Muscles engaged automatically, memory older than thought guiding balance and posture. A disembodied voice announced, Endurance trial initiated. Maintain station. Minutes stretched. Sweat beaded on alien skin. Heart rates spiked across the display. A winged cadet folded, harness snapping closed as medics intervened. Mara breathed steadily, counting without numbers. Sensors began to chirp near her station. Not alarms. Confusion. Cadet Keene, a technician said over comms. Report discomfort. She flexed her fingers. None, sir. The gravity increased again. Someone laughed, sharp and nervous, then stopped when another cadet dropped. The chamber thinned, bodies removed, spaces left behind like missing teeth. Mara shifted her weight slightly to relieve pressure on her left foot. She felt strain, yes, but it was familiar strain, the kind that came from carrying water uphill or running drills in boots filled with dust. Her vision stayed clear. Her breathing stayed even. "Commander," the technician whispered from the control booth. "Her readings." "Continue," Tal ordered. 5 more minutes passed. Then 10. Finally, the voice returned. "Trial complete." Gravity normalized. The remaining cadets sagged with relief. Mara straightened, rolled her shoulders once, and waited. Tal descended from the observation platform, eyes fixed on her. "You did not exceed expectations," he said. "You merely endured." Mara met his gaze. "Yes, sir." "That," Tal replied, "is the problem." He turned away, already issuing new commands. "Recalibrate parameters. Increase difficulty. Earthborn cadet first." Mara watched him go, pulse steady, gravity still humming faintly beneath her feet. She remained standing. The second day began without ceremony. Mara entered the conditioning hall to find the floor already vibrating, a low-frequency tremor tuned to disrupt balance. The air carried a metallic tang, thinner than standard mix. Environmental readouts flickered across the walls, numbers sliding into ranges marked with caution glyphs. This time, Commander Tal stood inside the chamber rather than above it. "Adaptive stress evaluation," he announced. "Survive until extraction. No time limit. No benchmarks. Just endure." Gravity surged in irregular waves. Not heavy or unpredictable. The kind that punished anticipation. 2 cadets went down almost immediately, joints failing as the pulls shifted mid-step. Med drones swept in and removed them without comment. Mara adjusted her stance, knees loose, spine relaxed. She stopped trying to predict the changes and let her body respond on instinct. Years of uneven ground, sudden impacts, and poorly maintained infrastructure had trained her better than any simulator. The tremor intensified. The floor tilted 3 degrees, then snapped back. A reptilian cadet beside her hissed in pain as a tendon tore. Another screamed when a wing joint dislocated. The hall thinned again. Tal watched, expression unreadable. Minutes bled together. Sweat soaked Mara's collar. Her breathing deepened, controlled. Muscles burned, then settled into a steady ache. Pain sharpened her focus instead of dulling it. She welcomed the clarity. "Cadet Keene," a medical officer called over comms. "Your microfracture indicators are rising." "Yes, sir." "You may withdraw." "No, sir." The officer hesitated. Tal lifted one finger. The channel closed. Temperature dropped next. Cold enough to stiffen extremities, calibrated for species that relied on external regulation. Mara felt it bite through her gloves, then stabilize. Her body compensated, heat pooling inward, circulation tightening. A mammalian cadet collapsed, shivering violently. Removed. By the time extraction was called, only 3 cadets remained. Mara was the only human. Tal approached her as the chamber powered down. "You are accumulating damage," he said. "You understand that?" "Yes, sir." "Why continue?" She considered the question. "Because stopping wouldn't fix it." Tal studied her for a long moment, then turned away. The medical bay was bright and quiet, sterile in a way Earth hospitals rarely managed. Scanners passed over Mara's body, light tracing bone density, muscle fiber tears, stress fractures knitting themselves closed. The doctors spoke in low voices. "This can't be correct. Her skeletal reinforcement is exceeding projections. Muscle recovery is already underway." One finally addressed her. "You are in pain?" "Yes." "And you remain functional?" "Yes." The doctor's frill flattened. "Why?" Mara shrugged carefully. "Because pain isn't an emergency where I'm from." The psychological assessment followed. No recovery period. No preparation. She was guided into a chamber barely larger than a closet. The door sealed without a sound. Light vanished. Sound followed. Even the vibration of the station faded, leaving nothing but her own breath. Sensory deprivation. Designed to unravel species dependent on constant environmental feedback. Time lost meaning. Mara counted breaths until numbers blurred, then let them go. She focused on small things: the pressure of the floor, the rhythm of her heart, the memory of rain on hot pavement. Her mind wandered, then returned. Drifted, then steadied. Hours passed. Or minutes. It no longer mattered. A voice cut through the dark. "Cadet Keene, describe your emotional state." She opened her eyes, though there was nothing to see. "Calm. Are you experiencing distress?" "No." "Hallucinations?" "No." Silence. Then, quieter. "You should be." Mara exhaled. "I've been alone before." The lights returned abruptly. The door opened. She stepped out without stumbling. Tal waited outside, arms crossed. "Humans are classified as social organisms," he said. "Isolation degrades performance." "Extended isolation," Mara replied. This was short. "You define short unusually." She met his gaze. "So do you define danger?" That night, rumors moved faster than official reports. Cadets whispered in dining halls, eyes tracking Mara as she passed. Some avoided her. Others watched with a new kind of caution. The final evaluation was announced at dawn. Combat simulation. Full spectrum. Multi-opponent. Tal addressed the assembled cadets, voice carrying. "This will conclude provisional assessments. Parameters will not be adjusted for individual species." Mara caught the emphasis. She said nothing. The simulation chamber was vast, terrain shifting under projected skies. Gravity fluctuated within combat tolerances. Atmospheric conditions were erratic by design. Opponents materialized across the field: faster species, stronger ones, armored ones. The signal sounded. They moved immediately, instincts honed for coordinated takedowns. Mara became a target without discussion. Blows landed. She went down hard, rolled, came up slower than before. Pain flared, sharp and bright. She smiled. Not because it felt good. Because it felt honest. She let the others spend themselves, chasing decisive strikes, burning energy. She absorbed hits, redirected force, used mass and timing instead of speed. When one opponent overcommit, she took them down with leverage alone. Another collapsed from exhaustion minutes later. Tal watched from the control platform, fingers tight on the rail. A parameter adjustment flashed across the system. Environmental load increased. Gravity stabilized at a higher constant. The air thickened. Mara felt the shift like a familiar weight settling onto her shoulders. Others faltered. She straightened. The match ended in silence. Tal descended slowly, disbelief etched deep. "Explain," he demanded. Mara wiped blood from her lip. "Earth didn't make us comfortable," she said. "It made us last." She stood alone in the chamber, as medics rushed past her to the fallen. Gravity normalized for everyone else. For the first time, it felt light. The chamber doors sealed with a finality that felt deliberate. Mara stood at the center of the arena, boots planted on fractured terrain that simulated no known battlefield and every hostile one at once. Gravity held steady at a level most cadets found taxing. For her, it was simply present. The air was dense, faintly abrasive, carrying particulate designed to interfere with respiration and optics. Commander Tal's voice echoed from the control tier. "Final evaluation," he announced. "No resets. No intervention unless fatal thresholds are crossed." Around Mara, figures emerged from projection fields. 6 opponents. Different species. Different strengths. All briefed the same way. Neutralize the human. They moved together, clean and efficient. The first strike came from above, winged, taloned, fast. Mara pivoted instead of blocking, letting momentum carry the attacker past her. The second hit her side, blunt and heavy, knocking breath from her lungs. She rolled with it, shoulders scraping stone, came up slower this time. Pain registered. She catalogued it and kept moving. A blade skimmed her arm, drawing blood. The sting sharpened her focus. She retreated 2 steps, not fleeing, repositioning. The ground dipped where gravity pulled, subtle but exploitable. She led them there. One opponent lunged too hard. Their footing failed. Mara caught the wrist, twisted, used mass instead of speed. The body hit the ground hard enough to end the match for them. 5 left. Her vision narrowed. The chamber noise faded into a low roar. She felt her heartbeat in her ears, steady despite the strain. Muscles protested, then complied. She had worked tired before. Broken before. This was neither. A heavy strike caught her ribs. Something cracked. She hissed through her teeth and stayed upright. Another cadet hesitated at the sight. That pause cost them. Mara drove forward shoulder first, turning pain into momentum. They went down hard and did not rise. Tal leaned forward, fingers digging into the rail. Increase environmental load, he ordered. Warnings flashed across the system. The chamber obeyed. Gravity locked into a higher constant, no longer fluctuating. The air thickened further. Heat climbed. Conditions shifted closer to something earthborn. The effect was immediate. 2 cadets staggered. One dropped to a knee, gasping. The other tried to compensate and failed, joints misaligning under the new pull. Mara felt the weight settle. It pressed into old scars, into bone and tendon. She exhaled slowly and adjusted her stance. 3 opponents remained. They regrouped, slower now, eyes wary. You can stop, one of them said, voice strained. You've proven your point. Mara shook her head. This isn't about proof. They attacked again, less coordinated, conserving energy that was already bleeding away. Mara absorbed a strike to the thigh, countered with a sweep that sent one sprawling. Another caught her from behind, arms locking around her shoulders. She felt pressure build, oxygen thinning. She dropped her center of gravity and fell backward, using her weight like a lever. The grip broke. The impact ended the match. The last opponent stood trembling, chest heaving. They looked at Mara, bloodied, limping, still advancing, and lowered their weapon. I yield, they said. The signal sounded. Silence followed. Mara stopped where she was, breath coming hard now, chest tight. Pain spread in waves, demanding attention. She let it wait. Medics flooded the chamber, skirting around her to reach the fallen. She waved them off when they reached her, staying upright until the adrenaline began to fade. Commander Tal descended the steps slowly, each movement measured. He stopped a short distance away, studying her as if she were a problem that refused to resolve. This evaluation exceeded safety margins, he said. Yes, sir. You sustained significant injury. Yes, sir. And yet you remained operational. Yes, sir. Tal's mandibles twitched. Why? Mara met his gaze, voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Because where I come from, failure doesn't wait for you to be ready. He looked away, toward the chamber where cadets lay recovering. Earth was classified incorrectly, he said at last. It wasn't, Mara replied. You just measured the wrong things. Tal faced her again. Explain. She took a breath. You see extreme environments and assume weakness. We see them and adapt. You build systems to protect your bodies. We build bodies that survive systems failing. The words hung between them, unembellished. Tal nodded once, sharply. The Academy will amend its records. That's not why I'm here. Then why are you here, Cadet Keene? Mara straightened, ignoring the flare of pain. To learn how the galaxy fights. And to make sure you learn how we do. Tal held her gaze for a long moment, then inclined his head. You will be reassigned, he said. Advanced track. Command potential. A murmur rippled through the observation tier. Mara said nothing. The chamber systems powered down. Gravity normalized across the arena. The sudden lightness caught several medics off guard. One stumbled. Mara didn't. She stood there, blood drying on her sleeve, breathing finally slowing, feeling the familiar weight lift not from her body but from the room itself. For the first time since she arrived, the environment felt easy. Tal watched her a moment longer, then turned away to issue orders. The academy moved on, already recalculating its understanding of strength. Mara took a step toward the exit, then another. Each one hurt. Each one held. Behind her, the galaxy adjusted its numbers. She remained standing.